Welcome to the Matt and Dale podcast, episode 16.
Welcome everyone back to another episode. I think we're up to episode 16 now. And we have a special guest with us, Jess. So welcome, Jess.
Hello, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Jess. So Jess is a social worker with Thrive. How long have you been at Thrive now, Jess?
About 3 years ago that I started, but there was a bit of a break in there when I had a baby. So, do I say 3 years? 2-ish years, between 2 and 3 years.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. So you're on leave for a little bit, and now you're back.
Yes, now I'm back.
Yeah, and what we're going to talk about today is the transition of becoming a mother, and it sounds like you've got some experience there, Jess.
Yeah, I mean, I like to think so. Having done it twice now, by no means an expert, but yeah, have definitely noticed some things.
Yeah, and this is the first time I've heard this word, Matresense. So we've got adolescence, but there is actually a term when someone transitions into motherhood, and the term is Matresense. So can you explain what Matresense is to our listeners and viewers?
Yeah, so Matresense, the correlation, I guess, with adolescence is a really good one. It kind of gives you an idea. It essentially is the transition to becoming a mum. And similar to adolescence, that's not an instant thing. You don't just kind of wake up one morning and you're a mother. It's a long transition. And it's also quite a complex one. It's physical, it's emotional, it's social. There are a lot of aspects, and it's sort of ongoing, I guess, as well. It's a word I hadn't heard of until after I had my first daughter, and she's nearly 5. So it was, when I heard the word, I was like, cool, I want to understand what that means too, and sort of looked into it and thought, that's a really interesting concept.
Yeah, that's great. So it's kind of like an identity shift of some description. Is that how you'd kind of explain it?
Absolutely. And I think just even that concept of your identity shifting is complex enough in itself. We are, I think, constantly changing our own identity, no matter what we're doing, whether we're with our friends, with our parents, with our workplace. And then when you add mum to that list, it's just another version, I guess, of self. But it kind of, I guess, weaves into all of those other versions as well, all of those senses of identity.
Yeah, would it be kind of a fairly pervading, like he says, it goes into all the different types of identities, motherhood being quite, would you call it kind of, not overpowering is probably the wrong word, but quite powerful?
Yeah, I mean, I probably would call it overpowering sometimes. But yeah, definitely a powerful one. I think that every version of me, anyway, being a mother comes into it. As much as I do or don't want that to be a thing, I've changed in all my versions of myself. And I think I guess the overarching process or transition of becoming a mother is generally talked about as magical and all warm and fuzzy and always amazing. And I think that there are some realities that we don't like to talk about regarding that. Sometimes it's really hard. A lot of the time it's really hard. And there's not always a lot of acceptance of that being said. And I'm really passionate about, I guess, giving people the space to be able to say that and to be able to feel that and feel like they can address it rather than just feeling guilty and shame around, oh, well, I must be failing.
Yeah. What about you, Jess? I'm curious, did you have that idea when you were becoming a mother that it was going to be like all sunshine and rainbows? And then was it a shock to you?
Yes. I don't think I had a super unrealistic view, but I did think that I was going to be a natural and that I would make that shift quite easily because I always wanted to be a mum. And I think that because the harder sides, the relentlessness, the exhaustion of being a mum isn't always talked about and accepted, that I don't know, I think for me it came across as, if I am going to complain or talk about how hard it is, does that mean I don't really want to be a mum? Am I failing as a mum? Like, it just brought a whole lot of stuff up that
Amazing.
is hard to deal with.
Yeah. Yeah. And what
So,
do you think? Well, you go, Dale. Sorry.
no, I was just going to say, I mean, it sounds, because it would affect, I mean, obviously from a hormonal perspective, I mean, there's a lot of
Mm.
change going on, I would imagine, and
Yeah.
social change and those sorts of things. But I would imagine that kind of guilt kind of comes with the wrestle of trying to be perfect versus just accepting that it's like a process and you're going to be up sometimes and down sometimes and in
Yeah,
between sometimes. Is that a fair kind of
absolutely.
characterization of how you might approach it?
Yeah, definitely. And I think
Yeah.
the guilt is there. Mum guilt, people talk about a lot, and I think there's a reason for that. I think there's a really somewhat unrealistic expectations put on mums that says they should love and enjoy every second of it. And I think that you can love being a mum and you can be grateful for being a mum, but still struggle at the same time and still find it hard at the same time, but still be a good mum and still want to be a mum. Those things
Yeah.
can coexist. Um, and I don't think that there are any parents out there that don't struggle. I think that some parents are better at not talking about it. I think it's hard for everyone. And I think that just because people do find it hard, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're failing or doing it wrong. It's just they're human, and being a parent is hard.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. And
Good.
so you were talking about the mum guilt. So I'm hearing that there can be kind of a lot of self-judgment that goes on to like
Yeah,
why mothers are feeling a certain way.
yeah, definitely. I mean,
Yeah.
I think historically and socially, we probably had a lot of pressure from our own mums. When stay-at-home mum was more celebrated as, you stay at home completely, you don't go back to work until the kids are well and truly,
Mm,
at school or even after that.
mm,
Um, and that version of a mum at home was very different to what it is today. It's a lot more accepted now to work. And I think for that reason, for some at least, we have that unrealistic expectation of, I've got to be able to do it all. And then the guilt that comes with, well, I can't, it's too hard. So therefore, yeah, I'm doing it wrong. The guilt, no matter where you're at as well, like if you are a stay at home mum or you are a working mum, you're guilty because you're at home and you're not earning. You're guilty because you're at work and you're not with your kids. It can be a bit of a relentless cycle.
wow. Yeah,
How,
I'm just trying to think. Sorry, Dale. I'm just trying to think.
it's all right.
Um, yeah, like when you have the kid and you might have your partner there helping, I wonder, I'm just trying to think what that feeling would be like once, the partner goes back to work and then you're here with the child.
Mm.
Yeah, I get the feeling like that must be really a really tough transition too.
Absolutely. And I think, I mean, more often than not, there's going to be a more primary parent, which typically is the mother,
Yeah.
just for physiological reasons. But,
Okay.
recovering from having a baby takes a bit of time sometimes. And so it makes sense in a lot of ways for the dad to go back to work or the other partner to go back to work.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think that can be a very isolating and lonely time.
Mm.
You're never alone, but you don't get a lot back from a newborn baby, so you don't get a lot of interaction. And then, yeah, that's something to spiral the guilt again. It's again that, fantasy version of, I need to enjoy every moment of my baby. I'm going to miss it. I need to soak it up and all of that. I mean, we're our own worst enemy with a lot of this, I realise. But I just also know that once I started to talk about these sorts of things with other mothers in the same situation as me or similar situations with me, I found it so validating to hear that I wasn't alone in that, and just to understand how normal it is to not love every second.
Yeah.
I sound really grateful, don't I?
No,
I do
no,
love being a
not
mum.
yeah, not at all. I think you're just being really brutally honest.
Yeah.
And
Well, I think
it's
that's a
good.
part of it.
What's that?
I think that's a part of it. The brutal honesty
Yep.
was something that the first time round I didn't really have the space to do that because I didn't have close relationships built with other mums because I was a first time mum. I hadn't built that up yet.
Yeah.
My first is nearly 5, and my second had just turned 1 a couple of months ago. And very conveniently, some of the mums that I met when my first daughter was born were also having second and or third babies when I was having my second. So we were a lot closer going into it. We shared our pregnancies together, and we were at that level of friendship where we could just turn up to each other's houses with coffee and in our pajamas and, sit on the lounge room floor together and have a cry and not have to preface how much we love our kids before we're about to bitch about our kids. Like we just needed to have that safe space that I didn't realize I was lacking the first time round because I didn't know it was there.
Yeah.
And I think that we've all kind of heard about how important it is to have a village and that it takes a village to raise kids and all of those sayings. But
Mm.
until you've truly been in it, with and without a village, it's hard to imagine how profound that impact can be.
Well, what a mixture of emotions, because I'm hearing on one hand, there's this excitement of becoming a mother for the first time, but I can't help but notice there'd be a bit of grieving of like the person who you were before it.
Definitely.
What's that like?
It's a tricky one, to be honest. And I think
Mm.
we often don't recognize things as grief unless an actual person has died. We don't think of it as loss or grief in that way. But
Mm.
yeah, there's past versions of me that I grieve. Little simple things like just running out to the supermarket to pick up 2 or 3 things when you've got a toddler.
Okay.
Not possible. It's, I mean, possible, but it's not going to be a quick trip. Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, making plans on a whim, being spontaneous with friends or family or wanting to go on a trip away. There is definitely that version of me that I grieve sometimes. But I guess it's an ongoing transition and an ongoing identity shift. I think me as a mother of 1 is very different to me as a mother of 2. And I think the transition I made coming back to work the first time was very different to the transition back to work the second time. It's a constant evolving change, I think.
Yeah.
Yes, there's a lot of guilt, but I think there just needs to be a lot of self-compassion as well, to realize that there's a new me that's not better or worse. It's just a new me.
Oh, that's a great way to look at it. Yeah,
Hopefully
yeah.
better.
So taking the label that we attach away.
Yeah, I think so. We
Mm.
all decide to have children for different reasons at different times. Whether or not we've done enough before we have kids or not, like who has the answer to that? Who knows, what's the perfect age? All of those things are going to differ from person to person. But I think no matter what those decisions are, the self-compassion and the kindness is going to help, no matter where you're at.
I love what you said around grieving. Um, typically I see that as sort of a loss, like a passing or a death or maybe
Mm,
it's a loss of partner but that whole I've lost my identity, the traveling one, the one that could just pick
yeah,
up on a whim and go somewhere.
yeah,
Um, and I'd imagine for a lot of women as well, it like you said, it's a difficult one because it would be difficult for I think them to understand often in terms of having that sort of level of self-reflection, but um, also that there are various forms of grieving, you know.
mm,
Um, you know what I mean? It's like in mental health, often it's not shown on you. There's no scar, like physical scar. It's an internal situation that people are dealing with, and it's very hard for other people to see it, and sometimes for them
absolutely.
to see it. And I think that's where the torment and the wrestle and all those things like guilt and loneliness and grieving obviously build up over time without some
Yeah,
sort of reflection or outlet.
yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I'm probably not the only one that does grieve past versions of me. My husband and I did a whole lot of travel and a whole lot of going out on fun dates and late nights out before we had kids. And I'm
Mm.
sure there is a part of him that grieves that old part of me. I guess it's just that, yeah, monumental shift in priorities for both of us.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, he knows that he went down the ranks when the girls came into the world. It's just kind of how it has to be. Maybe that'll change down
Yeah.
the track. For now,
Yep.
the girls have got to come first.
Because he's got to change. I mean, I know that we're talking about the mother here, but he, obviously being your partner, he's got to go through a monumental shift too, I'd imagine.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And I think, we talk about how big and long and all-encompassing that transition is for the woman. It's very different for the man. Obviously, there's, the start point and end point, well, not end point, but the start point is very different for the father typically.
Yeah.
Mothers are growing the baby and feeling that connection and having that physical connection. Does it start earlier, later? Like that's always a discussion as well. It's hard to know. It's hard for each other to know in each other's shoes, obviously, but
Yeah.
very different processes.
But it's great to hear you, I think. I mean, obviously I'm coming from a male perspective, and hopefully other males will watch this too, because then they get a really great insight
Yeah.
in terms of potentially what their partner may be going through, which hasn't been
Yeah.
fully expressed yet, which helps with their own, kind of where am I in all of this?
Yeah, hopefully. I think I've had big conversations about this with my husband, and he's told me that, it's opened his eyes a lot around just how relentless and ongoing it is.
Mm.
I mean, just the physical side of it alone is pretty relentless. The changes that our bodies go through, the hormones, everything that goes with that. But then, like we've spoken about, the grief, the identity shifts, everything. It's all encompassing. It's a lot. And I mean, then there's the responsibility of actually being the parent to these little people that we want to grow up to be decent little people.
Yes.
Pressure. It's a lot of pressure.
Huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jess, I can imagine sometimes that pressure, as much as like the maybe some inner work that we've done on ourselves, I get the feeling like some days the pressure just gets too much, and like as a parent, we're going to lose it, aren't we? Or like,
Yes.
does that happen? And I'm just wondering, like, if like I get the feeling, just obviously I don't have kids myself, so I can't really talk on experience, but just from talking to friends and family, talking about that guilt again when they do sort of lose it.
Yeah.
Like that can be quite common from what I've heard.
Absolutely. And I think there's constant picking battles. That's probably mine and my husband's most said phrase is, let's pick our battles.
Yeah.
At the start of the day, is a battle with a 2-year-old over what they wear out to the supermarket one that I want to have? Not really.
Yeah.
But whether or not they, I don't know, have their medicine because they're sick, or have their dinner, or, the important things.
Yeah.
But yeah, sometimes it is too much. Sometimes as the parent, you lose it. And I think that having that validation, hearing that everybody goes through that has been one of the most powerful things.
Yeah.
Giving ourselves permission to tap out, permission to have some time alone, have some time with friends, have some time of not feeling like their body is needed in every sense of the word to another person. I guess giving mothers the permission to just be human, because everybody feels that. Everybody needs that autonomy and that alone time once in a while.
Yeah, yeah. And there's a quote that I've read just on this sheet of paper that you provided. If you're not loving every second, you're not failing, you're human. I really love that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's the spiral we send ourselves on, isn't it? That if, some days it is too much. Some days I want to put my kids in the bin. And then you feel horrible about that. But when you talk to another mother and you realize that they are things that frequently come up for everyone, the first thing that comes to mind is, oh, I'm not failing, I'm human. I'm human because this was going to be hard for anyone. Caring for another person is hard for anyone to do. And I think just recognizing that and having those honest conversations and accepting the support around that makes all the difference.
Beautiful. So kind of taking away the black and white thinking, you can feel two things at once. You can feel this kind of gratitude for having kids, but also, bloody hell, this is hard, sort of thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, 50 things at once, really. But those big ones.
Would you say, I was just going to say on that, it's okay to have either. Would you say, like at the base of it though, and what I get, Jess, I think I'm connecting to you here, you've got this sort of pervading, this is still awesome. You know what I mean? That comes back. It might disappear, it kind of comes back, or am I kind of off track there?
No, definitely. There's definitely more of those awesome moments than not.
Yeah.
I'm really in the thick of it at the moment with my youngest. She's not a great sleeper. So I am pretty exhausted all the time. Actually, coming to work is my break, ironically, because I can switch off mum mode for a little bit and just be adult me and have adult conversations with other adults. But yeah, don't get me wrong. I love it. I love celebrating the achievements, seeing the milestones, when they are doing the things that we're teaching them to do and they're turning into the kind, awesome people that we want them to be. It's the best payday ever.
Yeah, for sure. Nice. Love that.
Yeah.
So what do you think, Jess? We'll probably have to finish up very shortly. What do you think is the most important thing for new mothers out there to remember?
I guess just remembering that the baby arriving is not the transition. The lead up to that, and I was going to say the weeks after, the months after, the years after, that transition keeps going. To be kind to yourself, to be compassionate to yourself, but to seek and accept support, to understand that everyone finds this hard. And the more you talk about it, the more validation you'll get around that. But that, having help available and accepting that help in whatever form it might be. It might be your parents live close by, it might be your workmates, it might be a mother's group, it might be daycare. There's so many forms of a village. And I think as long as it's somewhere that you can feel emotionally safe and get validation for how you're feeling, it gets easier. It really does.
That's that village you were talking about, how important that is.
Absolutely. Yeah. All for that village. Yeah. I think I couldn't have done it with, I did do it, but it was a lot, the village was felt a lot more present second time round because we had those already made friendships and relationships, and we helped each other through it a lot, physically, but emotionally and mentally. And that's what every mum needs, I think.
Beautiful, Jess. What about, it sounds like you already had a close group of friends around you. What about for new mothers out there who don't have that? How do they get support, do you think? Like, do you recommend, are there any sort of platforms or any community groups that you could sort of suggest? Or?
Yeah, there's heaps, and I guess it comes down to the individual of how they want to be interacting with other people. First-time mums are usually set up with a council first-time mum group. So they're connected with other first-time mums, and it's a bit of a social outlet with a maternal health nurse. But sometimes, you have a break and then you have another baby and you don't qualify for the first-time mum group. So that can be a bit isolating. There's heaps of online supports that can then lead to more practical supports. I started a big online Facebook group myself to support Bendigo mums when I was pregnant. It started very small, but it's now a massive community of what people need from it, really. Some people just want the online support to share memes and ideas and get advice. Others post cafe dates or play dates, and they meet up in person and go for walks and have a chat in person. We have mum nights out. We support each other, and that's really where a lot of my village was born and came about. And something that I'm passionate about continuing, because I think that it's not easy to put yourself out there and meet other mums when you're a first-time mum. So if there's an easy place to find it online, typically a new mum has lots of time to have their phone in their hand when they're feeding or putting a baby to sleep or whatever it might be. There's support there when you look for it.
Incredible, Jess, that you created that. We might actually put a link to that, if that's okay, in the description of this,
it's amazing.
of this podcast.
Yeah, definitely. It used to be, first-time mums, but now it's just a mums group. It's anyone in the area that wants to socialise that has a kid. Got some grandmas in there as well, I think.
Fantastic.
Nice.
That's so cool. Yeah, well, appreciate you coming in to talk about this really important subject. So we'll definitely release this as soon as we can, because I'm sure there's a lot of people in the community that would really appreciate it. And thanks for being so vulnerable and so raw and real, Jess.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you so much for having me. It was great to chat to you both.
Thanks, Jess.
All right.
No worries. Bye.
If you're wanting to book an appointment, you can contact Thrive through email or phone. And if you're needing extra support, here are some helpful numbers. And remember, you're never alone.